We know how important it is to live in accordance with the true self, because it enables us this flow experience and experience that life has a meaning and purpose, and we know everything is right, everything is aligned. We don't experience all these challenging emotional states. We don't feel like being conflicted or being pulled in different directions. So how do we get to this experience? How do we get to this point in life where we have this experience of the true self, feel like everything is in balance and harmony, considering all these different obstacles? As I've mentioned before, considering all these different aspects of ourselves and different elements of our being that might be initially in conflict, I think bringing it all together in perhaps a process of radical honesty or simply mindfulness, where we become aware of as many aspects of ourselves as we can, could be a very important process, because it not only allows us to know ourselves better, but most importantly, it strengthens this center within us that organizes our experience, in a sense, that organizes our thoughts, that organizes different elements of our experience, such as feelings or sensations, right? So you could call it a point of awareness or consciousness even, right? So it's this kind of aspect of your experience that is always present, unless you get distracted and get pulled into different dimensions. So knowing yourself, right? It always comes back to this. So mindfulness is super helpful in this, developing this metacognition or meta-awareness when you reflect on the process of thinking. So how you make sense of your experience. Why did you react in a specific way? Why did you react in that situation, right? Why did you have this emotional reaction in the first place? Where is it coming from? So conducting all this investigation, obviously, about the sources and the causes of your reactions, of your feelings, of your thoughts, can support you in this process of learning more about yourself and obviously bringing together different parts of yourself. Shadow work, again, links to this idea of knowing yourself, right? So shadow work, I explained in the 2 live streams ago, I think. Yeah. So shadow work, again, working with these own parts of yourself. So things that you don't want to look at, right? Things that perhaps other people can point to in situations where you get annoyed with someone. Why did you get annoyed with that person? Or you have some other strong reaction towards someone. Why did you have this strong reaction in the first place, right? What are you avoiding? So shadow work involves all these processes of facing the most disturbing feelings, the most disturbing aspects of your personality you could imagine. It goes on the spectrum, obviously, but yeah, it's pretty disturbing. So in this whole process of discovering who you are, what you are, right? You synthesize all these different elements. I think it's important to offer yourself this attitude that everything is valid, right? So all your aspects of your experience, all of them are valid in a sense, right? Even if it sounds, maybe you have this belief that you shouldn't feel in a certain way, right? Maybe you are oversensitive in certain situations. Maybe you are over-aggressive in other situations, right? So you might judge certain elements of your personality. You might, evaluate like, I shouldn't be feeling that way. Or maybe my thought process is wrong, right? But once you kind of suppress this judgment, that's where the fun starts, because you start welcoming these different impulses or drives you might be having, right? There might be a very valuable source of energy that push you towards creativity or towards, zest for life and living your purpose in a sense, right? It's all these different emotional reactions you might be having. This is all just energy, right? we as a society, we develop this idea that it's just an emotion. But there is a reason why the emotion is called emotion, right? It's a thing in motion, right? It's energy, something that moves within us. Because, and it's not a, some metaphysical idea, but emotion, it has, physical component. There is an emotion, there is a physical reaction within you when you experience some emotion, when you experience feeling. So seize this energy, right? Seize this opportunity. It doesn't mean that you have to go along with what you are feeling or with your reaction, like, oh, I'm angry at something, right? I have to do something about this anger. But you have a choice. You can seize this energy, right? Seize this emotion and apply it to things that matter to you, right? So what are your values? What are your most important things in life that you would like to invest into, right? You can then move this energy. So when you get angry about some trivial thing, shift your focus on the things that really matter to you, right? Things that provide you with meaning and purpose. And once you do it with other emotions, when you are able to kind of develop this coherent narrative and mindfulness and detachment from feeling impulsive or reacting or acting on your reaction every single time, that's how you invest energy in things that matter to you, and you kind of, in a sense, you become a master of your mind. That kind of leads us to the next concept I was gonna suggest in terms of working on the true self and how to discover what matters to us, what is true within us, is this unconditional self-acceptance. So by self-acceptance, I don't mean that we go along with every impulse, we develop all the bad habits, we develop, addictions or whatever is within us, and we accept it, right? But self-acceptance, I mean in terms of having things within us, within our personality, right? So, okay, we might have a bad habit. We might have a drive to do things that are harmful to ourselves, for example. Or we might have a bad attitude, or we might be impulsive in certain situations, right? So with self-acceptance, it's not like, okay, I am this, let's just be myself, whatever way I want to be, right? And just going along. But it's more to do with honesty with yourself. So acknowledging, okay, I'm having this. That's acceptance, right? So I think it's one of the most misunderstood concepts in psychology, because we associate acceptance with absolute permission to do everything, right? So be everything and just do anything we want and going along with every single impulse, like a little monkey in the forest. But acceptance is more about being honest with ourselves and acknowledging what we are, what sort of things are happening within us, right? What sort of feelings or emotions we might be experiencing, right? So I believe it was Carl Rogers who said that only when I accept who I am, then I will change. You can't change. You can't develop your true self or find your true self, whichever metaphor you want to use, if you disown different parts of yourself or if you don't accept certain parts, right? Only then, once you embrace it all, embrace who you are, right? Only then you will be able to move forward in a sense. So again, it kind of links to this idea of bringing together different aspects of your personality, of your being, of your experience, into this coherent whole. And self-acceptance I think is super helpful in this. There is a flip coin to self-acceptance as well, which relates to being kind to yourself. So self-compassion. Self-compassion, it links to self-acceptance in a way that you need to be able to be honest with yourself and, okay, accept that you have this and that personality trait or habit. But with compassion, you stop forcing yourself to be someone else, to meet certain standards. You stop forcing yourself to be someone else, right? without self-compassion, it will be very difficult to live with your true self, because we have this tendency to adapt to social circumstances, to adapt to other people, to go with different expectations. But and what happens is that it creates a pressure, internal pressure, to be someone else, to fit in, right? To relate to other people, to be a person that everyone likes, for example, right? To appear in certain way to other people, so that we can gain something, like even, love or validation. So what happens is that when you are compassionate to yourself, you understand why you're acting in the way you are acting. So you understand why you're having certain traits, and you understand that that's the way you are, right? If you don't have this self-compassion, what happens is that you will experience possibly this pressure to be someone else, to do something, to change, to disown certain parts of your personality, maybe even develop this idea of the false self that is in contradiction to who you are, right? So you can go completely astray with this idea of changing yourself. So self-compassion, linking back to who you are, going along with this, but it doesn't mean that you have to continue in terms of your bad habits or what you might perceive as an obstacle to your growth. But in order to change anything, you need to understand yourself. So a little bit like a little child, right? When, for example, parents are compassionate towards their children, it's like, yes, okay, I understand what you're doing. I understand why you're doing it, right? So it's like offering this understanding and this kind of broader perspective that we are kind of, even as adults, we are this little children inside, or at least some part of us. So again, understanding, accepting, and then we can move forward, because once we're doing that, we can then collect these different aspects of our experience into a coherent whole.